Thank you. And let me share my screen.
Yeah, I'll just let you know once the recording starts. Yeah, it has started now. Over to you, Satya.
And can see my screen, Rakit, and everyone?
Yeah,
Just
all good.
making sure you are seeing the right screen.
Yeah, we are seeing the slide.
Okay,
Session number
perfect.
5.
Session number 5. Thank you very much. For confirmation, okay, welcome everyone to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Platform Convergence. So today we are in session 5. And we'll be talking about data integrator and logic apps. And our speakers are Priyanka Garg from PwC and Mohammad Mustaja from Karachi System Limited. That's the name, Mohammad System Limited. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You said it right.
Thank you. Right. So before we get into the session today, there's a quick disclaimer from our group. I know you must be hearing this kind of a disclaimer nowadays because every sessions are virtual and every sessions are being recorded. So I believe nothing new for you guys. So today, all the views expressed from the speakers are their own personal views coming from their own personal experience and don't try to link it to their employers or from Microsoft. All the environments which everyone is using are trial environments, nobody using the environments from any of the client. Again, session will be recorded and this will be posted sometime on YouTube also. So if you don't want to be part of the recorded sessions, you can exit now, even if you don't want you to exit, because now we want everyone to be part of this session and listen from the experts. I don't know you have observed or not, these sessions are a joint effort or a collaboration of 3 user groups. And most of you are part of any of the user group, I'm pretty much sure. And if you're not, find the link in the chat here. Rachit or Umesh will put the links to these groups. These groups exist in LinkedIn, exist on YouTube, exist on other social platform also. So just keep abreast of all the sessions coming up from these user groups. So these groups are basically Australia, New Zealand, D365 FinOps team group. This is purely for FinOps. Another one is Use India, which is a comparatively new group. And Rachit was the founding member of that group. And the Pakistan user group, which had a very large event 2-3 months back. Okay. And here you can see all the beautiful faces from all the speakers in the past 4 sessions and speakers from today, Mohammad Mustaja and Priyanka Garg. So I will spend some time, next 2-3 minutes, in talking about basically the recap of all previous 4 sessions. So you know what journey we have done so far, how much we have traveled, and what are we covering today. So today will be the last session, and we'll be concluding this discussion, this big discussion about Dataverse and all these ecosystem of Dataverse and integration scenarios. All right, so session 1, we started with the platform convergence in general and about Dataverse, which was also a kind of foundation stone for this series. And Preeti Singh from Velrada, Rachit Garg from PwC talk about like significance of Dataverse. Preeti also demonstrated how to create tables, different kind of data types, model-driven apps in Dataverse. And that was like really good foundation stone for this whole series, and people learned a lot. I personally learned a lot from that session. I'm very much new to Dataverse, so that was really a good start for everyone. Then we had session 2. Session 2 was with Tim Shaw from Microsoft, Faisal and Rajit. Fortunately, we have these people in all the sessions. So that was again a very fantastic session. Tim Shaw talked about the common principles and roadmap of Dataverse and how the user interface is unifying, like how the Microsoft is working hard to make it give a uniform experience on the Dataverse. And Rajit had again a very good demonstration. That's again my personal favorite because I am from F&O background. So what he demonstrated was how to embed Power Apps in finance and operation, which was again kind of eye opener for me. And then Faisal, again, we have Faisal every time. He's a master of case studies. So whenever you want to learn about some case studies, some his nuggets from his experience, and we always invite him. So he talked about some key learnings, and again, my personal favorite was what you need to be an architect in future, right? So solution architects in past were different, like your skill set requirement was different, but in future, what's changing and what else you need to know to be a solution architect. Right, and third session we had with Cameron and Rachit Garg again, and we talk about the business events. For business events, again, people who are from finance and operation background, ERP background, they know about business events. They exist in the system since long. But what special was in this session was how to integrate business events with Dataverse and how this Dataverse will be kind of centralized placeholder for all the business events of F&O in future. Right, and we also talk about so what was the highlight of this session was from Cameron, where on one slide he talked about all the business scenarios which can be covered using all these integration techniques. So business events, dual write, virtual entities, data integrator, and logic app. So I took a snippet of that particular slide, and saved it for myself. I also posted on LinkedIn if you want to see. But anyway, these sessions are all recorded and on YouTube if you want to go and check that. So that was again a very good session to cover all kind of integration tools and when to use what particular tool. So thank you very much, Cameron and Rajit, for this fantastic session.
Thank you very much.
Then last week we talked about dual write and virtual entities with Amna Khan and Fajal Farid. Dual write virtual entities. I know many people must have seen it, where people who work on finance and operation and CE, CRM, they are very much aware about dual write. And then again from Fajal Farid, we got some insight about some case studies and his experience and what is possible in future using the dual write and virtual entities. So today we are on the last day or the last episode of this series. And our presenter will be Mohammad Mustaja and Priyanka Garg. So before I hand over to Mohammad, if you have any question now, you can ask. Or I hand over to Mohammad. Mohammad, over to you. And please, when you are done, hand over to Priyanka. So we'll be having session between Priyanka and Mohammad for next 1 hour. First session will be with Priyanka, 30 minutes. 30 minutes will be with Mohammad. And then last 15 minutes we'll reserve for question and answer. And feel free to put your questions in the chat. Our expert team, Rajit, Fajal, will try to answer it on real-time basis, or definitely in the end, we'll have some time to answer it. Over to you, Mohammad.
Thank you, Satya. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I know the community is joining us from various time zones, and really appreciate everyone who took their time over their weekend and joined us. My name is Mohammad Mustaja, and I've been working in specifically CRM domain for around 11 years now. With the Power Platform relatively new and learning and experience in Power Automation and Azure Logic Apps from past at least 2 years. So this is a brief intro about myself, and I love to read about AI and automation among business, and love to see football in my free time. So over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohammed. I'm gonna share my screens if that's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Guys, can you see my screen yet?
Yep, Pinka, all good.
Thank you everyone, and thank you so much for all the committee members for giving us that opportunity. As you know, my name is Priyanka Garg, but I like to be called Priya, short and sweet. I'm working in currently PwC Australia. I have 11 years of experience in Microsoft technology. Started my career as in beginning as a web developer or a programmer, but after just a couple of years, I moved my career to techno-functional, where I introduced from Microsoft Dynamics 365 CRM, not even 365 CRM 2011, I would say. And as the product is evolving, I'm learning with the product, and here I am. In my free time, I love to solve puzzles. I love traveling, but I also love Toastmaster. Toastmaster is another community group where it's most focused on public speaking. I am been volunteering from last 3 years in a row in Sydney, and I love going there. It's just like getting a positive vibes. That's about my introduction. Let's jump into our sessions today. Today, I'll be talking about the data integrator, and we will talk about today what the agenda about data integrator today is understanding of the data integrator. Then we will briefly discuss about the case studies and the scenarios about how we can do that. And then we briefly jump into the demo where I'll show you quick how to get started with the data integrator, how to create a simple projects and how to resolve some of the errors. And the last one it would be some possibilities and limitation with the data integrator. What is the data integrator? And as you have seen in these series, there are 4 previous sessions. There are multiple ways to do the integration between the systems, and particularly finance and operations and CRM. So there are multiple ways, and why we need data integrated and which scenario it would be good to use dual write or data integrator or any other things. I will discuss a specific case study that I experienced in the past, and which will I'll explain later. So let's talk about the data integrator. What is data integrator? It sits in Power Platform. It is actually point-to-point integration between Dataverse and finance and operations. So if I talk about the connections, initially it comes with Microsoft Dynamics 365 for sales. Now it can be also integrated with Dataverse. It means we could use all the out-of-box entities or tables to integrate between those two systems. Plus, we can create custom templates too. So Microsoft has provided some out-of-the-box templates, but in my recent projects, I actually try to use custom templates because of the project's requirement or the scenarios that can't be fulfilled by out-of-the-box scenarios. So what happened in the platform? So there are some templates that's given by Microsoft, or we can create custom templates, and those templates and connection sets becomes a project. That project is depends on in one organization, and in one tenant we could have multiple organizations. Like in our normal SDLC, we talk about our dev, sit, UAT, or prod. So all these projects sit in a single Power Platform admin center. And then last is the execution where we run the project, we check the execution history, we check what is happening there. So in the demo, I'll show you what are actually how the execution looks like. Case study. I will talk about prospect to cash scenario, and I believe most of you are very familiar with what is that scenario is. It's purely we're talking about sales from CRM, and finance operations is purely a cash prospect to cash scenario, where we do have in CRM we do have accounts and contacts. There are two different tables, but in finance operations we have customers and contact. It's by look at the name, it's look like simple, like yeah, one-to-one mapping. But if you look at the arrow there, accounts and contacts are actually going to the customer table. So what is happening is we have two types of customer. Customers are organization type and customers are individuals. So in ERP, both the customers store in the same table called customer, but in CRM, it actually stores in a different table called accounts and contacts. And that's one of the reason in my previous project, we ended up from dual write to data integrator. What was happening is we started with the project with the dual write, and during that dev part, everything is tested, everything is unit tested, everything is working in dual write, no problem with that. It is a great tool, and it provides the real-time synchronization. But what happened is when we moved to SIT, then we finalized because it was a huge project and there were multiple vendors involved, and the customers are created via batch processing in ERP. So if it is created by batch processing in ERP, what happened is if dual write, as we know, account or contact has a circular reference between them, and if it is the records were created from the single transaction, it is coming from the third party system, and it was coming into the ERP, and then at the same time, because of the dual write real time synchronization, it was trying to create both the records in a single transaction in CRM. That's not possible because it has a circular reference to each other. It can't be created as a single transaction. It has to be created into multiple transactions. Now, this scenario is not common to all the organization or all the clients. I would say it depends on the project you're working on. It depends on the requirement you're working on. So that particular project have those kind of requirement, and we couldn't move from single to multiple transactions to just create the customer. The roadblock was for us the products, because products are every day or every other day they're coming from the different system, and products are not like one or two, it's coming in a batch like thousands, and we couldn't do. And the third roadblock was sales orders, and this was also, it's not, if I'm creating from ERP one by one, it is simple because it will be coming into multiple transaction and dual write will be processed very fine. But again, it was coming as a single transaction. As you know, in CRM, if we create a sales order, header already invoiced, and after that, if we pass the sales order lines, it won't work. So we have to keep it the sales order open to process the lines, and after that, we need to update the header to invoiced. So those kind of three scenarios that we hit, that we can't work with dual write and we need to move to the data integrator. What else data integrator actually provide? How we resolve the problem? First thing, data integrator can be scheduled, and we can actually break up those tasks into a multiple transaction, and we can so that we remove the reference requirements from the projects. So it's like first I'm syncing the contacts, then I'm syncing the customers, and it's happening overnight. So the system is not on load because the high volume of data is coming on the real time. It's a lot onto the system, lot of pressure on the system. So excuse me. So these are the three reasons that we moved to the data integrator, and now our project is successfully running. And because we moved from dual write to data integrator, if you know that in dual write, we already have created lots of tables from the dual write to already CRM. So those tables already exist in the CRM. Those fields are already exist in CRM, right? So in in Data Integrator, we actually created custom templates to utilize those tables from DualRide, to utilize those custom mappings from the DualRide. I'm going to show in the demo how I utilize and how we can actually use all the DualRide solution tables in the Data Integrator, and we can evaluate. I think we can use those power of those tables without creating manually all these fields, because these are tables, are hundreds of tables or hundreds of fields. So without manually creating, we can utilize the system. Move to the demonstration. This is the just screenshot of the Data Integrator, how it looks like. These projects like a simple graph, and these are the projects in the system. I'm gonna switch to my different screen. Okay. As I mentioned before, Data Integrator sits within the Power Platform Admin Center. If we just go to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, we will go to that screen. And from the left-hand side, we can actually go to data integration, and this screen will be open. Here in the screen, we can see that this is the graph, and these are my projects. Before starting anything, we need to create the connection. So for the first step to create any project in the system is to create connections. So what I did is, if I'm creating a new connection set, it actually says that we only can use right now Microsoft Dataverse legacy. So right now the connections are connectors that is supported by Microsoft is legacy connector or the deprecated one, but it is highly recommended to use the legacy one instead of the deprecated one. So what I did is I went to make.powerapps.com and oops. So when you go to the make.powerapps.com, on the left-hand side, if you remember in our first session, there's a Dataverse and tables and everything. One of the link is connections. So here we can actually create a new connection. So if I go to the new connection, I'll look for Dataverse. So there are two connectors. So currently Data Integrator is already supported by the legacy one, not this one. So if I go and click this one, it will ask me to create a new connector. If I go ahead and create, confirmed my account. So it has been created a new one. As previously it was created, it also created a new one. So we can create multiple with the multiple user. Similar way, if I want to create for the finance and operations, so I will go search for finance and operation. So this is the connector. This can be used. Again, a reminder, these connectors are premium. If you have a proper license only, then you can use the connector. Otherwise, these connectors are not available to the organization. So the same procedure, I'll not create because we already have the connectors. Once we have already the connections there, then I'll go back to there and create a new connection set. So maybe this time I'm gonna give our SIT connection name, then first party app. So I'll use one of the connections. So first step connection and environment. So this is the environment URL. Second is my finance and operations. Then I need to choose the environment. Once I choose the environment, so it will ask me for the organization. What I did is, because I was mentioning in my case study that I went from DualRide to Data Integrator. Usually here we either choose the organization in the finance and operation, we choose the legal entity, and here we choose the root business unit. Because my data is already integrated initially with the via DualRide, the legal entity already created multiple business unit in my CRM. So I do have all the business unit here created with the same name as legal entity. So for the purpose today, we are using USMF. Here we go. This is my business unit in Dataverse, and this is my legal entity in finance and operations. Save. Now, if I go to the connection set, there are two connections that previously I created as a dev, second I created as a SIT. connection. Two connection has been created. Now, after connection has been set up completely, my next step would be create a new project. For the demo purposes, I have created 3 projects. First, I'll discuss with this one, then I'll quickly show how to create a new project. In my previous project or my case study, how we divided the projects is one is reference data, second is master data, and then is transactional data. The reason why is because we want to remove the dependency. Let's say if I want to talk about customer groups or payment terms or payment day schedules, all these tables are used in our master data. If I don't have customer groups defined, I cannot sync the customers. So I really need to first sync the reference data. So all this reference data should be in the reference projects. And for the demo purposes, I just created only 2, but there is a complete list of the tables you can get from the Microsoft Docs. What are the different tables you can sync in the prospect to cash projects. Then after the reference data, I will go to the master data. Master data example is if I want to do the products like or warehouses or warehouses should be referred, and my customers. So customers would also go there, and I will set up my customers there. And then last would be the transactional. I could have combined transactional or master because unless I have the master data set up completely, all the customers set up completely, I couldn't go to the sales order lines or invoices. So that's my sales order header or sales order lines. After that, I can go to the enhance that project and go to invoice lines. There is no hard and fast rule how you should define those projects, but there is a limitation that how many projects you can define in your paid environment as well as in your trial environment. So just to keep the performance okay or high, and just to remove those confusion, where is my project, is just good to give a proper naming convention. Now, if you see the latest sync over here, in this example, I have all 3 status over here. This was says it's 2 hours ago. This was has 44 minutes ago, but it's showing the red error, means this project has some errors and that we need to look at after it. And the third one says never. So this was just created there, but it was never sync between the system. And the next one says next sync is not scheduled. So it means these are synced as an ad hoc. There is no next scheduling has been set up. It means we have the option, if I want to go to the project here, I can actually schedule this project that I really want to do today and after every 1 day, and it starts on today, and instead of 3 p.m. I might go 9 p.m. so that it's purely off hours. It's not working on this peak time where the users are actually using the system. If I want to define end date, I could, and I can actually set up the notification where actually I can provide my email that whenever something goes wrong, I should get a notification that, and I can do the save schedule. I see one of the questions there. What are the limitations? I'll go after the demo. What are the limitations there? Back to reference data, it says now in 5 hours because I have set up the scheduling there. Now, how to create a project and how to create a task. So there is a small, there's a button on the top where you say new project. We need to define the project name. So maybe I'll just go reference data version 1. I can choose the connection that I have created previously. Now, here is the option to choose the template. These are the out-of-the-box template that comes with this connector that we chose, the legacy connector. If we have choose some other connectors, there are multiple. There might be more templates, or in the future, Microsoft must be releasing more templates. Now, in this demo, I'm using Finance and Operations to CDS. Now, what happened is whenever I create a task, it will go only one directional. It is not a bidirectional like to your right. It will only pass the data or integrate the data from ERP to the CDS if I'm using this template. But if I'm using this template, CDS to finance and operations, so it will integrate the data from CDS to finance and operations. So if I need to, if I have my requirement is bi-directional, I actually need to do both ways. So I need to use both the projects separately, not in single one. So if I'm using this one, organizations. So remember, we have set up those organizations when we define the connection set. I can use this one and then create. So I just created a version 1. So this is how we create the projects. But right now, when I open this project, it is brand new. It's empty. And now if next task is to add a task. Task means we are actually defining how to create a project. How to create those tasks by defining those table names. I'll not go in those more details, but a very simple task name, just I'm talking about products here. Table name is products. It's still loading. So I can choose the product one, or just let's go product styles for now. And now I'm using the product style table. This product style is not it's a standard table or standard entity in ERP, but not in CRM. So why this table is already existing in my CRM environment is just because I've installed the tool, right? Product table. Oops, I don't have the actual table name. There you go, styles. Forgot, I have this one at the last. Finance operation is style, and in Dataverse, it's a product style. Product style is a custom entity. It is installed due to the dual right solution over there. Now I need to choose the organization and save. Now this will go from CDS to finance and operations. Going back to our existing products, once we have all the projects has been set up, now I want to move to, I have tested in dev, now I want to move to SIT, what I should do. So in that sense, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and save as a template. So there is save as template. I can give version to the template or version number over here, provide the description, contains customer details so that I know what I'm talking about. Now there is an option that the template can be shared with everyone in the organization so that anybody have the access to Power Platform Admin Center, they can use. Again, when I say how access, so we need to get the access Power Platform Administrator access through Microsoft Office. So I get save. Oh, the project is not created. I get an error that template was not created because project is invalid state. It means that project has some error and I can't create a template. So first I need to go and fix those error before actually try to create as a template. And this is the, actually I wanted to show you, it says project has a warning and we don't know which project has a warning. So I know it's a big task. If we have like 10 to 12 tasks in that, we need to go one by one and open that which task is actually giving a problem. So not this one. And is it not this one? So it says it is actually missing the company code or company schema. So what does that means? This error is really important because I am configuring the USMF company. That is my legal entity, and in D365 it is also a table plus the root. So I'll go add mapping. I'll add, this is how you do the mapping between the fields. And I'll go company code, company, and I'll provide So if it is a direct mapping like credit limit, it will just have a equal to sign without because the values will go from source to destination without transformation. But if there is the transformation, there is a sign of fn where we are actually doing the transformation. For example, of this one, it says default value is true. In this case, we have actually provided the default value to 1. And maybe I'll go back there. And reference data. Yeah, so this value is transform type is instead of default, I'm using value map. And because this is the Boolean field, yes and no value. So in ERP, we have no and yes value, but in CRM, it's false and true. So sometimes in ERP, we have the enum field, and enum field has to be go with option set mapping. So this time also, we will use the value map. If we want to see the JSON there, we can see how it looks like. And this is the way we can add more mapping over there. If we are not using, we'll go back and cancel. Okay, this is about the projects, and we talk about the task, we talk about the connections that we are using, scheduling we have checked. Now the last thing is execution history. This is, if you see this one, everything has an error. It means I tried multiple times and it is not working, and we need to fix that error. What is happening over here is, in this one, their error might be different because it was just all failed error. When I go into the deep dive, I can actually see how many errors are there and what is the actual error there. So, and another example is, I provided this time I have 2 maps, and this is when it's a success, I can't drill down. But if there is an error, actually I can drill down again and see what is the error message. In that says it couldn't resolve the grid ID. So I need to make sure that that field actually exists in the CRM before I move the reference there. One option to remove that reference is either I need to remove the reference from the task, or I need to make sure really that these field or this particular record, it actually exists in CRM. Oops. How we can quickly check if it exists in the CRM or no. There is a hyperlink there. And we can actually say now it's calling the auto data service. It actually said that this value doesn't record. If the value is coming as empty, it means this record doesn't exist. We need to get that record first created in CRM before actually we can create the customer groups in CRM, or we can migrate the customer groups from ERP to CRM. Okay. Connection set. One more thing I want to show you here. So when I'm within the project, there is the connection there. Sometimes I get the error of that missing integration key, and how to resolve that integration key error is you need to go to the connection set details. Here you need to see, you can verify there I'm connecting to the correct organization. Then here's the integration key. Based on the connection set which you are using, and based on the tables that you are syncing, here all the tables integration key is there. So sometimes we do have a requirement that we don't need this key, or sometimes we do have a combination of 2 keys. Let's say I really want to do the account number plus the email here, so I can actually choose the field over here. Oh, sorry, the search function is not there here. So maybe I'll pick up a field, email address 1. So for me, for this account, if I want to sync the accounts, I can use account number and email address. And same way, if we really don't need that, because if we are not using this vendor table, or I don't need integration key, I can go above and select to none. And save. So my integration keys are saved over here. So if you need to change the integration key, this is the place based on the connection. So first you need to go to the project. Within the project, you need to go to the connections, then integration key, and here you can actually update this integration keys. Now, in the beginning, in the case study, I was talking about the reference data, the circular reference between accounts and contacts. So what I did is, it's my key learning. It's not in a working state yet, but it'll give you a quick glimpse of how I have set up the projects. Come on. Master data. Yeah, here we go. So in this example, there are 5 projects, but I'm using two tables only. In the first project, what I'm doing is I'm getting all the contacts from the V2 to contact table. So it is where I remember that in finance and operations, we do also have the vendor contact. That's why I have actually filtered the query that I really want the contact that are associated with accounts, not with the vendors. So these are the query. So I need to pass that if I know the value. So this value I got from ERP and it's not defined by me. Second project I have set up is customer to account. So it's going from V3 to accounts. In this one, I do have all the org type customers. So my party type is organization. All the org type customers should go to, maybe I'll just delete this one. All the party type organization should go to from customer V3 table of finance operations to Dataverse accounts. So that's my second one. Here, I have not given the reference yet. And third is my party type individuals. That's also going to party type person or individual customers that are not related to any organizations that are actually going to the contacts, not to the accounts. Oops. Then we have reference to these one. So in this one, what I'll do is CDS contact with custom reference. So I already synced all the contacts. I already sync all the accounts. Now I'm just passing the customer reference in this batch, and in this last one, I'm passing the contact ID to the customer so that they can complete the reference, they can complete the loop. Otherwise, it will be again going to end up in, if I define those customer reference in this one or contact reference in this one, it will again end up in a circular reference that we were trying to solve in previous one. Because now I can schedule this as nightly or fortnightly or 2 times a day, whatever our volume says or whatever the project says. But based on the data, based on the requirement, I have set up these ones and it will resolve my circular reference of the contacts and accounts is from CRM to customers. Okay, going back to my slides. That was my end of my quick demo. These are some possibilities and limitations on what we're talking about, how we can leverage the dual write integration. And first thing is, it is one directional. I think somebody asked the question in chat. I have not looked at very much, so many questions, but just a recap on that. It is one directional. It only transfer the data from source to destination. If we need to set as a bidirectional, we need to actually set up 2 different projects. But in dual write, we can have in one project. So we can only schedule 50 integration projects at a given time, but at a time means only it. I'm talking about scheduling here. We can set up 100 projects. That doesn't matter. But scheduling of those ones can be happen at a given time only for 50 projects. But for the trial environments, there is an additional limit that scheduling project would only run for first 50 executions. Now, execution means one project can run 10 times and other is running from 30 times. So we already covered the 40 executions. It means 10 executions is left only. So this is for the trial limit. And now this is that 5 projects per minute. So just to improve the performance, it is recommended that we can only run 5 projects per minute per tenant. If we are running more than 5, the performance will be low, and it will be a lot of pressure or lot of performance issues in the system. I think to optimize the performance and to not overload the apps, there's a limit of projects to 500K rows per execution per projects. In my recent project, we had the data that we were loading in our test systems. Even we are using 300K or 400K, it was always failing. It always says task was canceled or task was aborted. And when we went to the Microsoft and said why it's happening, so because the sandbox environment doesn't have much infra behind that or the power behind that, but if you are talking about the production system, it should have and it should actually run 500K rows per execution per project smoothly. About execution history, remember I was showing you the errors history and everything. It is only maintained for 45 days. After that, it is purged automatically. If we want to keep the prior history, we can export the history by right click and just go to export the project with history. It will give us the history if we want to maintain that. But in the system at the user level, we can only see until 45 days. That's it. All right, that's to summarize. I think we do have a question and times after Mohammed's session. So I'll give back to you, Satya.
Yeah, thank you very much, Priyanka. That was really, really insightful session. We have some questions. If I think you answered one of them, like limitations. Like you covered everything in the last slide, I believe. There was a question from Dr. Ludwig about the 50 projects at a time. So you're saying 50 projects is not a limitation, it's more of the setting the batch is the limit, right? 50 projects can be scheduled at a time.
Yes, it can be scheduled at a time, but we could have more than 50 projects in the system.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And I think you also covered it's one directional. If you wanted to make it work bi-directional, you have to create one more project, right? Like again, one way, but you have to create like two projects. Okay, thank you, Priyanka. So we can take more questions. You can giving you more time to read through the questions. We'll invite you again to answer these questions. Now I'd like to invite Mohammad Mustajad. Sorry, I might pronounce your name wrongly, Mohammad.
Hopefully I'm audible now. No problem in the listening, right?
No, looks good.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, it's Mustajab. You can say Mustajab, but
I was very
no worries.
close.
It's a tongue twister. I know. It's a tongue twister. So
okay, so over to you now. I'll not be wasting much time.
Thank you. So good day, everyone. I'll be sharing my screen. Firstly, the slides. Please do let me know once you guys can see it. Can you guys see my screen? Is my screen visible?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
that's great. Okay, thank you, Priyanka. That was a really insightful session on Data Integrator, and I really like that how integration has become easier and easier with the passage of time. I recall using the same Data Integrator a couple of, I think, an year back, but there was still the same limitation and challenges there, which you showed demonstrated that they are addressed, like enum and all those stuff now. So it's good that things are progressing. And similarly, one of the integration that I will be talking today is Azure Logic Apps. So now when we hear about Azure Logic App, like let me just break down first of all the agenda, what I will be covering, like what is it about, the introduction about Azure Logic App, what is it, where we can use it, some of my experience around it, why I started using Azure Logic App when we have Data Integrator, when we have dual write, when we have even MS Flow. You can use MS Flow for integration as well, even in any case. But so why we should go for Azure Logic app will be the part of my introduction. Then importantly, costing and licensing is something that it's mandatory that we cover. Reason being that we have to understand the overall ecosystem for Azure, that it works a slightly different way compared to the business apps or the data dual write and other stuff. It's have its own sort of a consumption based or a pay as you guess. I will also cover. Also a case study and demonstration, a scenario that because we are talking, and I know a lot of FinOps people are there, so I would like to show them how I can link up things between FinOps and CRM as well. And obviously in the end, some takeaways and question answer sessions.
We like takeaways.
Yeah. Key takeaways, knowledge takeaways, nothing else. Sorry, we can ask the organizers for the takeaways. But okay, so Azure Logic App is a software as a service. If someone of you are not aware of it, it's just simply software as a service means that something you are purchasing as a software and you are using that to enhance your business applications and stuff. All the biz apps are mostly SaaS-based module. It's mostly integration use. I would not say it's just limited to integration use. It's something you can connect even your on-premise system as well, or you can link it to, for example, a case like run for on a creation of an account record. You have to create or trigger an SQL event, right? That can be a case. So this SQL is residing maybe on your on-premise environment. If that's the case, it can be used to kick out that or kickstart that uh, it, trigger as well. So integration is the main, I would say, the reason behind it of using Logic Apps, but it can have multiple more, some sentiment analysis it can do as well on a Twitter. You tweet about it, people, you can use Azure Cognitive Services to consume those tweets and, just try to extract out, is it sentiment is warm, sentiment is negative, positive about a product. All these things can be done. Single tenant, multi-tenant is important, that I will demonstrate definitely once I progress, and I will show you the pricing, how the single and multi-tenant is significant for the Azure Logic App. And the last part is the main reason behind if I would suggest or recommend, as Priyanka was saying, a really good thing that I really like about is that it's upon your call that they started using dual write in their project. But unfortunately, they found out that because of the load or maybe the transaction per minute capacity or maybe some other reasons, dual write was not as suited. It's not about the product. It's not worthy. It's about the level of usage that we want to extract out of that product. It's important. That's why when we are planning or when we are thinking about an integration or when we're trying to purchase a product, the main thing that we have to keep in mind is that particular product, is it fitted for me? It's just like wearing you're a built up guy and you're wearing a medium t-shirt. It will fit, but it will not be super fitted for you. So that's the case. It's always the product that fits your use and addresses your problem. So that's the reason that you should come to Logic Apps when it's coming to B2B enterprise solution, like you're having a million of transaction of orders per day. Then I would definitely not vouch or suggest even dual write or data integrator, because they will have their own limitation in capacity and upper threshold levels. So that's the main reason the Logic Apps comes in, but it doesn't mean you don't want to use it for other cases. Like maybe you can use it for lower cases or lower order rate, lower account synchronization as well. So this is a brief ecosystem diagram that's available on Amazon as well. You can see right now that Azure Logic App is not something you can say just an integrator or a facilitator of an integrating between two systems and making sure that A data is coming from system A and its data is going to system B. Yes, that can be the sole purpose of it, but it can be used to initiate some triggering or mechanism as well, or maybe you can see as your function here, and I know a lot of you, if you don't have an idea, as your function is more of a code-based to triggering tool mechanism that you can use. So something you can perform an operation here, like as your function performs and fetch customer information, and the logic app can use that same information to kickstart, a skill trigger. Even though it's not integrating them, it's not updating any values from it, it's just validating what the input is coming from Azure functions, and it's just making sure that it updates it starts the process or trigger in the SQL level. So it can happen. Similarly, all the connectors that are normally that you can right now think of are either available as built-in, or one thing that Priyanka mentioned in data connectors as data integrator as well, that it can be maybe premium connector or managed connectors, which is the word used here in the Azure Logic app. So still, if you're curious about, you want to read more about it, this is a really good blog from when I used to start learning about Azure. You can go here and learn about it more. It's really a good learning which explains you about the whole Azure Logic app. Now, the main thing is again the costing, right? Because when you think about Azure, it's pricing, it's costing, it's pretty much different compared to what we are used to when we are using Toolride, MS Flow, or maybe any other data integrator. So the first thing is that Azure licensing is mostly in a simple way is as pay as you go, like your executions are counted, or your per API call is counted, or maybe it's how you are running the whole system. So it's like if your function is idle, sitting doing nothing, it's nothing. You're not getting, don't have to pay the cost. But if that is residing on one of your virtual machines, then obviously you have to pay the virtual machines prices. So again, the Azure ecosystem is a bit different. And how do you do that? Why I brought it up, because instead of jumping into them and demonstrating you the capability, I want to share some how those Azure pricings are managed. So here are the two URLs if you want to learn more about it. One is about Azure pricing and Azure blob pricing, because in the end, whatever you do, either you're performing any record operations, either you're performing any sort of data transactions, or even if you're trying to store your logs, you have to have some storage, right? So Azure blob is a really, I would say, low cost, like no code, low code. It's a low cost storing information area, which you can store your informations there. So before going, and I will show you the URL as well, hopefully Azure Logic Apps pricing is divided in 4 main modules, which you see on the left-hand side. And what are the key components I will discuss on the right side. So the first point is the standard plan. The standard plan is something that, it's a single tenant base. And as you recall in the introduction, I explained that there are single tenant base and there is a multi-tenant base. So I'm demonstrating you a single tenant base is, if you are interested, it's a standard plan. It's instance based, it's tier based, like, you have to get standard plan, and I will show you as well in the URL, in the costing URL just shortly, bear with me please, that you have to buy or get which CPU memory, which information you like, how much capacity or the system power you need to run this whole of your Azure Logic app. As I said, this Azure Logic app, it's just not simple integration tool. It have many things to it. It's a whole complete different world there. And if the data is in a standard plan case, the data remains in your same region, like, you cannot host or deploy it on maybe multiple regions. This is a concept in Azure that you can deploy your information in multiple regions, your logic app, so that just case of disaster recovery and all those stuff. Consumption plan is more of a pay as you go. You consume, you pay, you consume, you pay. So it's more of a prepaid or maybe a postpaid sort of case, which it's just like our mobile. We use around 1,000, sorry, 100 Australian dollars in it. We have to pay just 90 because that current month we use 90. So it can be that way, or it can be, the standard plan in which you have to pay, a specific price. And it's again, as you see, built-in operations are there, operations. So my favorite or my area of that I feel most like when I worked on is the consumption plan. I didn't get, to be honest, chance to work on the standard plan, but to be honest, there is only the pricing and the power difference in between these two plans. Then it's an integration environment. It can be a reason, a lot of in organizations are reluctant or hesitant, to move their complete information on the cloud. So they prefer to do it, maybe a secure or dedicated server or virtual machine that they can have. So it's more of an integration servicing environment that you can use. Okay. And in this cases, you have the fully secure consumption plan that you can work on and not worrying about, that it's being shared among multiple peoples. Okay. Then it's an integration account. This is more of a defining, and it's mostly used for enterprise integration where you are managing it out or providing a business to business services to someone. Then this is the integration account that you have that you can use. The main key costing components on the right side, if you can see, are triggers and action operations, managed connectors, as I think you saw in previous session, or even if you're not, if you just go in and open MS Flow, you will see manage or paid connectors that are mostly premium connectors. In Logic App world, in MS Flow world, we say that it's premium, but when it comes to Azure, it's managed connectors, or it can be custom connectors as well. So these things are key costing components that will impact your integration. And along with that, storage, obviously, like if you want to store a huge chunk of data, then obviously you have to go and just add that information. So I'm just stopping this part. I have to show you one quick thing and resharing my screen to, sorry about that. I'm resharing my screen to show you the URL parts. So do let me know if you can see the, okay, yep, okay, hopefully. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my other screen. It's the Mozilla URL. Please let me know if you guys cannot see it. So these is the list of connectors. And there is one important information that if you're implementing for non-China and US, there is a difference between when it comes to US and when it comes to China. The cloud is separate. So you have to make sure that when you're choosing a connector, it's available there. Instead, again, there are a lot of if and buts in it, but it's because it's the capacity and the power that you get after it. It's something whatever you have seen before will be like a wow moment for you. So you see over here that these are the connectors list. It's available on Microsoft. You don't need to remember or memorize it. You can just go in and search if this connector is available, what is the pricing, and everything is mentioned out there. Now coming here, this was one of the URL that if you did get a chance to scan it was the best URL where you can go and see the pricing, how it works. And you can see right now in the standard plan, the pricing is more of a CPU or memory base. As I said, that it have 3 tiers, that one is depending on all the 3 tiers are depending upon the CPU and memory. And how I can show you that, I just switched to another URL in which pricing is, sorry, it didn't load it. Just a second, let me reload it. So the memory and pricing is dependent for standard plans as per the CPU and memory that you're using. If you're using 8 GB, it's like 0.0137. Maybe if you're using 16, it can be 0.1 something like that. So this is the case that it can be cost here. So for example, I have to go in and set out the logic app. I want to search this logic app. So look here, it's doing this, but it's really a good tool. You don't need to worry about remembering all the calculations. It's like you see over here, the regions is mentioned. I can go in and see Australia Central or Australia, I think Southeast is the area that we are all from, and you see over here, the standard plan is giving us the option to choose one of the possibilities, which one we want to use. And depending upon, you can see that, the cores, CPU, and the RAM are the critical one. You can see that the storage space is more or less the same in the 3 tabs, but you can choose like, okay, 14 GB. It can ask you how many instances or how many hours you want to run, and you can do the calculation around it. Go have a look at it. I won't go in much detail, unfortunately, due to time constraint, but if you have any questions around it, please feel free to reach out over my Twitter or my LinkedIn, and I will definitely try to answer these. But this is a pretty straightforward information that explains you how these individual components or individual plans work for you. So now moving towards the other part, that is the Azure blob. And its pricing is also mentioned here. You can see that it's pretty reasonable. You get 50 terabyte in just, the depending upon the module that you are going for, like it's hot, premium, or cold. And you can see it's really reasonable. Obviously 100 terabyte, and this data is relatively less if you compare or if you go for a enterprise level organization, but definitely it's something that it's there. And if you want to change the plan, you can definitely do it. So I wanted to give you a quick glance of this. Along with that, a technical related, like, if you are trying to integrate your system to an API and all the stuff, then you can use the simple, calculation criteria and, to learn it out how many sort of instances you need, or what will be the pricing around it. So these URLs I have already shared in my presentation, and it's really good for you to start on instead of jumping in directly into logic apps. Do these research first, get a report out of it, see it out. Is it best suited for your company, or are you still needing it, or maybe the data integrator can help you out. So before going into logic apps or any Azure service, the best part is to, first of all, evaluate it. How much do you think you need it? And for that, I just demonstrated that the tools are available. Then details are mentioned. You can just go in and, just start doing your calculation. So now, moving back again to my presentation slide. Sorry about that. Just a second. Quick change of slide. So hopefully my slide is available and visible to everyone. So now this was the pricing, and these are the URLs again, in case if anyone is interested. I'm moving towards the ingredients. Okay. Like all the great chefs, we are also chefs, and we are software chefs, and we have to prepare some ingredients before going into it. Whenever I went to something, I always find it difficult. What are the prereqs to it? Like, okay, I understand, yeah, this thing A will do this thing B, but to do A, what are the prereqs, or what are the ingredients that I have to have? So these are the basic ingredients that I will demonstrate now in my demonstration part. Resource group, storage account, and type and design. That what are needed to start off with the logic app. The first is the resource group. Resource group is nothing. It's a logical or container. It can be a container of all the logic apps in it. It can be a container of your all production logic apps. It can be a container of maybe your US region's logic app versus your Australia region logic app. So it's sort of a grouping of items together, and it's really good because once you scale, you consider from an enterprise perspective, and you're scaling your application. Today is 10 logic apps, and tomorrow 500 logic app is minimum. when it comes to enterprise solution implementation. So for that case, it's better that you start grouping out those resources together. So it's just like a concept of folders, or your documents folders, your pictures that you have placed in a folder. So you can consider that resource group as a logical grouping of things that have a main or a common purpose that can be. Still, storage account, obviously, if you in the start that I explained that your storage is important, you have to mention which storage account will be used, so that according to that storage account you can give and assign relatively information or policies around it, or maybe spaces around it. And last important part is the consumption versus the standard plan. That is like which plan you should go for. Should you go for custom or built-in or manage? All those stuffs are part of the logic apps ingredients. So this is the to start off preparing the logic app. We have to know these 3 ingredients, and now I think it's time to move towards the demonstration. But here is the first URL that you have to use, the Azure portal URL, that where we will have all the informations and details where we'll be performing all these actions as well. So here, let's go to demonstration now. Let me share my other screen as well again. Okay, so hopefully my screen is available, visible to everyone. And here is it. So now, as I said, the first ingredient is always the resource group. And I'm here this is the URL. This is a simple URL. I remembered it, and the one that I showed earlier in the QR code as well, portal.azure.com is your go-to place. And if I go, whenever I log in, this is the main screen that I always see in Azure. And you know what? Azure have a lot of stuff happening. So a common confusion comes in, like, okay, where to start for? That's why I explained to you the ingredients of those part, right? So first is resource group. Okay, the second is sorry, no worries. Let me go here to the Azure resource group, and I can go and create it. Now, when I create it, so you see over here, it's just asking me the subscription. This is by default our subscription that we have purchased as as per the standard subscription that we have for Azure. We just name it, okay, like logic app grouping, and just explain the reason. Okay, sorry. You don't have to use spaces, or I can say logic app fraud. Okay, and I can group it as per the region, like maybe US region, and in our case, it's like South Australia. I'm sorry if I'm selecting or not the South is not right, but yeah, Southeast Australia. Review it and create it. So it's nothing complicated, but it's really significant. It's a small step, but with greater significance when you are scaling up your application. So once you create it, it will create a resource group here. Simple as that. So if I go and create it, it will just take some time. And it always show you the pop-ups and notification here. You know what, for example, some actions requires 2 hours, 3 hours. So you have to don't worry and monitor it. You can always see your alerts here and take an appropriate action. Now the other is the storage account part. Now if I go here and again click the create button, you will see it will ask me for the subscription, and it will ask me to which resource group this storage account belongs to. That this storage account is for which resource group, or so if I have to select just the logic app production that I created, I want to name it. I will say storage account. I can give it a reasonable name, prod, and okay, sorry. So every area have its own sort of limitation, that because the storage account prod and stuff is you have to keep the naming convention that is mentioned there. So storage account prod ACC. Okay, so standard, premium, which type of you want to use, you can use it. won't go into much detail what these areas are because main focus is towards logic app, and you can just review and create it. That's it. It's nothing in that. All these tabs are, if these are required, if you want to specify which storage will be assigned to all those stuff. It's a topic in its own for another day. Now coming towards the logic apps part. Okay, so when I go back to my home screen, let me just quickly close the other two. Here you see there are two ways to do it. It's first of all the logic app here, the global search, I will say. You can search here, or you can go here and use this categorization as well. This is one another way. Or you can go and once you start using it out, mostly it's your favorites that you see at the top here, or maybe the recent resources. So it's pretty easy to navigate once you are used to it. So I will just go from here. I can see logic app. I'll just go here and select it. Now what I will do, I will just create add. Okay, now what I said that these are the pre-DAC. You see over here, this is the first thing it's asking me, which your logic app do you want to use. This app production, because I didn't associate the storage account, I'll just use the default one that we already have. But you can always select the resource group. And after you select the resource group, you have the option to, standard or consumption, which is part that I explained earlier, that, the consumption plan is more of a pay as you go sort of and standard is more of a deploying it on a dedicated machine where you will get a dedicated sort of operational capacity to work on. So this is it. Then I will just add the logical app name here. It's what's the name of it? It will be like D365 logic app. Okay, so I just add that, just review and create. Okay, it takes some time. A couple of things important here is all these logic apps provide you with an endpoint. Okay, and that endpoint can be consumed in API as well. And that's why when I was entering the name here, it was evaluating as well. So just review and create it again. And after a minute, sometime it takes some time. It just validated it. It's initializing it. You see on the right side, it's mostly telling you all the action. It takes a minute or so when it creates a logic app. It deploy it. It's in more of a not something we have to take an action on. It's more of a internal or Azure action that it's already performing at the back. So we don't need to worry about that. We just need to remember the key component that we need to start off with the logic app. So you see, this is here. So it mentioned that it's done. I will say just go to the resource. Now, when I go to the resource, it automatically open this screen in front of me, which is called the Logic App Designer. A quick video if you want to go and learn about it. What is a logic app? Some basic default common connectors are always available in front of you. We will go with the blank logic app first, but if you see over here, there are templates available as well. In future, when you design your logic app, it can be used as a template as well. So it's pretty straightforward that you by the look and feel of it, logic app maybe for the first time, or the people who are seeing it first time, maybe thinking, okay, man, this is something a black box for us. We don't know if it's too deep or if it's too complex, but you can see right now with some practice, it's pretty straightforward. Only thing is that we have to remember how the pricing happens, how the pricing, or do we need that logic app or not. So when I create to a new logic app button, you see it opened up on a screen in front of me, and those who have used MS Flow before would say that, you know what, it looks a lot like MS Flow. There is no difference in that. Correct, that's right. The only difference is that the backend power, the backend capabilities, the backend tracking options available with logic apps are much, and I will demonstrate as well compared to MS Flow. So if I go here and I will just choose, because I'm planning to integrate my CRM account to FinOps, I will just click the Microsoft Dataverse. So if you're using CRM, always remember it's Dataverse, which the CRM or customer engagement resides in. And you see over here, it's asking me for triggering points. I will say, you know what, when a row is added, and row is added meaning when a new record is added. Simple as that. Now you will see how simple it is getting now that you need to just click. Visual Designer is there, and you are right now designing an enterprise level integration, by the way. Go back 5 years back and think about an enterprise integration. It was just like, okay, you know what? Let's fold up our sleeves. It will be a difficult ride. So now things are pretty much simple. And you can see here that, I will just go and select, because I'm logged in, it will, and normally it asks about, your login information. I always say, you know what, this is my environment, pick it up. Now, as I said, in a simple case, I will just go and select account. And just a second, it takes some loading time, maybe sometimes it's internet and sometimes it's Azure, so don't worry. And it's the scope of the entity. Those who are CRM experience, they are like, what's the scope of it? Will we be using it on an organization level? It will be our user level, what this logic app will be running for. So it's just like defining the scope of all this execution, like everyone in the company will use it, or it will be just the user, 1 or 2 users that will use it. You just defined it the organization level. You see here how simply we created a triggering point. Now I will add another time. So that is called scope, and it's really important. Scope is in Logic app. It's just like your try and catch. Okay, why it's important? Try that. For example, if you define a scope, what will happen? And I will show you here as well when I define the next scope. That is, you know what? If my above action fails, okay, and is successful, then perform this. Okay, then I will say add a parallel branch, meaning if an else condition, you please can see how smoothly we are just adding all those logics that we used to write in a code, if and else, and all those stuff. And it's pretty much so. And I will say it will also configure after my try, and not as successful, but as failed. So you see, this is the try catch that I just added. So I will just rename it try success. And I will demonstrate it as well by creating a random error, try fail. So this is what I will do. If I try is successful, do this. If it fails, do this. So let's do that now. Let's bring up the FinOps connectors, the area of interest. I know a lot of people are. So what I need to do is I want to go in create record, and I will just go in and select the instance. Okay, and I will just go in and select the entity name. And I think I really remember one point Priyanka was mentioning that, the tables name are not the same. Like if it's account there, it can have not the account. So honestly, it's customer and ERP. And it's when I was first time integrating it out back a couple of months back, I was like trying to find, account or customer, where is it? Why cannot find it? Then I realized that, the table name of ERP are bit different compared to CRM. CRM account means account, and there is only one table around it. But in ERP, it's customer V3. That's the table that I will be seeing here in the customer. So it's a techie thing, but it's better that you are aligned with the ERP person. That's what I will suggest, or you have significant ERP knowledge to perform the section. Which table that you will be using here. So customer is there. I will add currency as USA, US. And I will add customer group. Okay, customer group. I know finance people are already aware of it. Okay, this is really bad. So customer group is something that I will just copy from here. I remember one value that was 30. And I will just go back here. So these are mandatory fields or values that we have to add. Okay, and a couple of them, for example, if I don't add, it will give me definitely an error, like organization name. Okay, and customer, so organization name, I will be just a second. Yeah, customer group. So I use 30, the retail customer. I won't go into the functional detail. I'm not super expert when it comes to finance, but yeah, customer group is something more of a grouping defined at FinOps level that we have to use to create a particular account and customer, sorry, So going back here, I will just organization. Now, one way is like I can add my name here. Thus, this will be a hard-coded value, but organization name is what we say in CRM, the account name. Okay. And customer account is what we say in CRM, customer account number. Okay, so if I want to intentionally remove that and see the try and success case, so that's why I'm not adding this value, just to see it out how it's going. So okay, you say, and currencies, I think I remember there was a currency USD, sorry, yeah, it was USD. So this is done. Now let me save that. Okay, and let me go back to my logic app again. Once again, I recall one thing. I already have one logic app. Let me disable that. Sorry, I forgot to disable one of the logic. So else what will happen? It will try to create two customers on the same. Just give me a sec, please. So this is the one that we just created. So rest of them, I will be just disabling it. And it's really easy to go here, select them, and just go and disable and stop them. Okay, it will take a second or so. Only two were running, but it will take a second or so and it will disable them. So you want to check it out. Okay, so it's hopefully stop now. Okay. Meanwhile, it's stopping. I will go back here. This is my logic app that we just designed, and I will just run it. Successfully check the trigger. These are stopped. Yeah, so you see, these are two stopped now, and I only have one enabled. So it's a quick way to check it out. Now, I will go back to my account. I will just go back in CRM, and I will try to create one account here. Just a second, and I will just try to create account as a demo comp UG groups, and I will say in the account number 456. I'll just say save. Now, what will happen here? If we go back into the Azure Logic app, there is no run history. So you see, when I click run history, there is one that's running, and I know it will fail definitely because I didn't provided one of the value. So you see over here, it gave me a fail issue. Now, if I go back, I know it will give me the error that the customer account or it's mandatory in ERP that's missing. And you see over here that when the try failed, it went into the fail action and it went into the success action. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate if you want to perform any success or failure steps there. So let me go back and just quickly, just a time check. Sorry that I am aware of it. Okay, so let me go back to the create record. Okay, I'm just adding last part here, customer account, and I will hit add now account number. Okay, now save that. Okay, and go back to my account, try to create a new one. Okay, Australia, I just created, I will just add 789 number, 654 unique number, and I'll just save that. Now going back to my logic app, again, seeing the history, yep, it's running. Yep, it succeed. So I should find this particular person. I go back to FinOps here. So if I go here, okay, I know. So just going back, sorry, I'm not good at FinOps, apologies. I'm still a learner. So here you go. Oh no. So here you go. Australia account. It is in the system. So I know this. It's still. I'm just resharing my presentation again. Just share it out again. So key takeaways now here are, firstly, it's the costing part that we should be aware of how that costing is, because I would not say just go in and jump in and start, recommend it. What we need logic. We have data integrator, we have dual, right? We have MS Flow. These are enough to address most of the cases. But if it's still not, then go for costing. Then analyze your storages. And if you're still anxious what the storage is, curious how to do that, you can scan this QR code. Then go with the pre-racks. Use the basic pre-racks definition. If you plan after costing and storage, go for the pre-racks and start using logic apps. So I'm towards the end of my presentation, and I will just thanking everyone for their time and maybe open for a Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. You are over time, but I didn't want to disturb you because I could see the passion you are going through. I was like seeing a kid playing with this video game and really not ready to stop.
Thank you.
But
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
But like other gamers who play in the YouTube and other kids watching them, so we were also enjoying like that.
Hopefully, yeah, that's great to know.
No, so I think now because you're over time, there are two punishments for you.
Okay.
First is you have to answer all the questions. There are a lot of questions.
Okay.
And second, we will be inviting you again because I think there are a lot to learn from you. Right,
Definitely.
Rajit?
Yeah, definitely. I will be more than happy to come back and share us.
Okay, Rajit, you want to call out any particular question?
Yeah.
Have you from Mohammed?
Yeah, Mohammed, you can take a stab at few questions, and if the
Okay.
questions remain unanswered, we can respond to them after the session, or I will share my email address in the chat window. Just drop me a note and I'll connect with Mohammed and Priyanka and try to get them answered.
I think one quick question, Ashik Patel asked a real good question that, if MS Flow, why use the logic app? The reason is, again, the load and the capacity or your usage. That's the main question we should ask. Like, can my work happen in using the MS Flow? Good, that's perfect. But if the data increases, because when you're designing enterprise solution, it increases exponentially, then it's logic apps. And because you can see a lot of operations are there in the logic apps, a lot of costing wise, it will be cheap compared to MS Flow, because MS Flow is after some execution, it start billing you. That can be a reason to go for logic apps.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So
there was another question about multiplexing from Dr. Ludwig. Do we have any multiplexing?
Okay, or do let's say for integration project operation, would you ever use logic for that integration? Well, I will share my experience when we use that. It was used for when we were implementing order to cash cycle from customer engagement to FinOps. And our orders were like maybe on a per day basis, 1,000+ orders. The customer was a retail customer and it can increase. So that's one of the prime example. I will always say that go for logic apps. The pricing of logic apps really is reasonable when it comes to the data load increasing. So I would recommend that on that time. But if it's a 10, 15, or even 100 or 500 orders, then dual write, data integration, or even MS Flow are significant enough to handle your case.
Yeah.
So
I think the capability to integrate with the third-party systems that also differentiate, right?
Exactly. Integrate with the first. Yep. I see two questions right now and a lot of them, but definitely I will be answering as much as I can. But if you still have anyone have question, please drop it down to Rachin. Reprocess field record.
Mr. There are two good questions from Dr. Ludwig. I can read those
Okay.
one to you. With the
Yeah,
use
sure.
of the integration account, is there a risk of multiplexing? Have you seen how one might run into a multiplexing problems, and do you have tips on how to avoid that issue? So if you run, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, go ahead. Please.
Honestly, yeah, I didn't use the integration account in my integration case, but that's a valid case. I can definitely do some research around it, but sorry, around it, if we can avoid that. Normally, on paper and on as per the usage, it shouldn't come, but it can happen. This case in advanced stages, which I will have to go back and do some research around it.
Perfect. And second question I'll read it to you. What that was actually about the calculator, the pricing calculator. The doctor did ask how what I can find is translating the prices for data exchange in GB or terabyte into the actual records. How can I make a good and reliable price calculation, for example, for exchanging thousand expense lines reports? Do you have any tip how to make a good price calculation for that one? Any trick?
Okay. The good trick is to firstly go for your payload. When I was using the I think if you didn't get a chance, I will share the URLs here as well. That first, the first thing is that understand the payload size. That, for example, you're using 1,000 line expense, or it's a medium payload. There is a dedicated website for Azure where you can define the payload, and that payload break it down the whole, like, okay, you know what, this payload will have approximately this much blobs and this much blob accounts, all those stuff. So if you use that URL first, which is called the Azure blob calculation one, I think it's this one. Yep, this one, Logic App Azure. I just mentioned it out here in the URL. This is the first one where you can do the analysis as per the load that you are having. And after, once you are done with this load and you are understanding it, then I would suggest to go to the pricing calculator and define what your the URLs also share, what the load and the information you got at the top, and try to break it down as per the execution you may need to perform these actions. So these two websites I mostly use as well to define, okay, you know what, this is the load, this is the the calculation that I can do, and try to understand. But obviously it's not a rule of thumb, I would say. It's again some more research and some more times.
No, thank you. Thank you for answering these questions. There are a few more questions, I think, so Satya. We can take this one offline later on.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
we would like to take an opportunity to ask you questions to our talented and brilliant Priyanka. If someone wants to read out some questions about which were asked to Priyanka, I think so. It has gone very up now.
Yeah.
But I really like one example here, Priyanka, about using data integrator over dual write. So that was actually a two-way, because dual write always works in a one transaction. But if you want to get back some response, so dual write is not capable of doing that thing back. So you have to go back to the data integrators. So other than that, sorry, I'm just behaving as a whole moderator here. So reading some questions quick to all of you. If anyone has any question to Priyanka, please feel free to ask.
I think one of the question, I can't remember where it is, but it was like where we can see if the integration is failed or errors. I showed the error screen during my demo, but if you need to see the export projects from the ERP side, you need to go to the data management and export the recent project, and you get the project ID from the data integrator, and you can match and filter those ones. So you can see what are the actual data that has been exported from ERP, but not synced to CRM. So it means it failed in between. And for that, we can rerun the same execution so that we can actually get all the records. Because what happened is when we have a change history enable, and let's say 10,000 records has been exported from ERP, but it's not reached to CRM. Because of the change history, next run won't pick up. So we need to rerun the change history and then find out actually what are the records failed, fix those errors and rerun, instead of running the whole project again.
And guys, while we are doing this question answer session, if people want to turn on their video, please go ahead. Want to take a capture. So also, I would invite Cameron. And if Tim Shaw is in the call, like to say a few concluding remarks.
And Patrick Short. Patrick, if you can switch on your camera, I would like to see your lovely face.
I don't know about that one, but I'm here.
You're here. So thank you. Thank you for joining.
Hi, good
Yeah, no,
listening.
Tim's not here today. It's all good.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.
A great session again today, everyone. Very good. Been fantastic sessions that I've been able to watch. I missed the first one. Been watching the other sessions when I could. So well done to everyone who's presented, and well done to people turning up on the weekend.
Absolutely, that's the best thing. People are so determined for their personal growth. Even on the weekend, we are spending like 2 hours from our family time. That's amazing.
Yeah, look, thank you for everyone that's contributed. I wanted to just make one brief statement around I think the challenge that we have as professionals is using the right tool to do the job. And I've sort of said this a number of times, but I did a demonstration recently where I combined customer voice, customer portal, Dataverse, and finance and operations in the one demonstration. To the user, it looked like I was using one product, but by stitching those 3 things together, or 4 or 5 things together in the right way, we can provide some very practical and powerful solutions. And our biggest challenge is when is the right time to use the right product. But I really want to thank all the guys that have shown us how we use these tools. And I think it's going to be these forums that help us understand the best way to use the products. So thanks for the opportunity of being involved. Ratchet, it's been fantastic, and I just encourage everyone to continue to ask for guidance and help around what's the right way to bring these products together. So thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Cameron. That was it.
Okay.
I personally would like to thank Surajit here, because the way he has led the whole series, he was the one who took the initiative and asked me how we can actually include rest of the user groups from other part of the world, from Pakistan, from India, from Australia, from New Zealand. So covering the whole range of different parts of the world and then leading from the front. So hats off to you, mate. You have done a good job. And this is one of the best series that we have ever done from the Convergence and the platform side. That this is one of the hottest topics going nowadays, as Cameron did mention, how the whole application is behaving same. Customer, actually, it's hard to find a customer like the moment we switch between finance and operations to the customer engagement, to the customer insights, to finance insights, it's coming along in a very beautiful way. And we all have demonstrated the real-time scenarios here. And it's very hard to find the real-time scenarios, case studies, and most importantly, support from our seniors, industry professionals like Cameron, Patrick, and Tim Shaw especially. And none other than Sunil Garg from Microsoft Corporate. So he's inspiration for everyone, for us. But thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Faisal. Thanks everyone for the good words and the encouragement. I think this would not have been possible without the support of all the speakers and the volunteers who are working behind the scenes, and especially the guidance which we got from Sunil, Patrick, Tim, Cameron. Everyone has been giving us inputs on how we can make this experience better for the attendees. So, and that is one of the key things we were talking to our speakers, that guys, let's make it more realistic. So let's not make it a fancy demo where everything is working. And that's where all the speakers have actually presented the real-time challenges which we might face. So we have configured things from scratch. We have seen what errors we can get. We have seen how we can, fine-tune those scenarios and make it work. So I think all the speakers deserve a big round of applause for coming, preparing, and presenting with the community. And thanks everyone for joining us. And we will plan something soon, maybe some other type of event. But as I think Satya also mentioned, festive season is coming. In India, Diwali is coming, and Christmas is on the list as well. So probably we'll be a bit quiet for some time, but then we'll make a comeback. Anyone else wants to unmute and say anything? Yeah.
It's a much deserved break for you, Rachit, after this fantastic 5 sessions series.
And
I
it's easy to
personally
say,
learned a lot.
it's easy to say, Rachit, and also it's easy to have you and your partner in the whole session, so that no complaints. Like Satya is very happy today, So
yeah, I think we need a big round of applause for Satya and Priyanka,
yes,
our Dynamics family in the room.
Dynamics
Yeah.
family is in the room, yeah. So no complaint. If you are getting late, no complaint. Both are getting late.
Yeah, my kid is playing video games, so he's also happy.
Thank you everyone for your support, and Umesh, especially the guy from India, has done a lot of fantastic hard work for us, dealing with all the marketing, flyers, everything, good work stuff made.
Thank you. We got joined by Shashikant during the session. So Shashikant, welcome to the group. And he is also helping us a lot in driving these sessions forward.
Thanks, Rajit.
Happy to be part of the group.
Cool. Anyone else want to say something, or you want to take a screenshot, Satya, or you have already taken? Do
I
you
took
want
multiple. If some new faces comes up, I'll definitely take more.
Okay, cool.
Wait, just stay here. I think I missed Umesh.
Maybe let's do it again. So if someone wants to turn on their cameras to have a quick screenshot, which we can share, then please feel free to do. And
I have
let
a
us know
lot
when
of space in my Azure stories.
we need a sponsor now.
Okay, I captured
Done?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All good. Now we can move.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Also, thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone, and thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us. And see you soon.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great weekend. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.